Don't like the antagonism that occurs or is produced by this question. I mean, what you can say if you're a cosmologist, what you should say is, so we know that the universe was very hot and dense 13.8 billion years ago. We don't know how it got hot and dense. We don't even know, actually, if the universe had a beginning in time. Don't know. So that to me is where the science starts for me with I don't know.
Getting more to the point of that question.
So I'm not going. So
you had a bit of an argument with famous atheist Russell Brand, who's also a comic, as we know. But you said to him,
no, Russell's not an atheist. Russell's
he's not.
Strongly believes in.
So okay, well I got that wrong. I'm sorry. You said to him that science doesn't rule out the existence of a creator.
No, but in the sense that I just said, that I think we're overstepping the mark. I do not believe there's any evidence for a creator. However, there certainly isn't the point is that the correct thing to say is we don't even know whether the universe had a beginning. I don't even know whether it was eternal. Nobody does. So that was the point I was making. I think we're stepping into an area where we don't really need to be.
Yeah, and I think a point, and as scientists, we need to be humble about the fact that we don't know everything. And we shouldn't pretend to know anything on a lot of questions because climate change is so incredibly complex. The marine system is all these different inputs and circulations and different drivers. And so, we get to the limit of our knowledge. And I think really what you're trying to say is we need to be careful not to go beyond what we know.
The great Richard Feynman, the great Nobel Prize winner, it's a beautiful quote where he says that he says, what is the meaning of it all? Right? And he says, in the end, we have to admit that we do not know. But in admitting that, we may have found the open channel. That's the key to science. We don't know.
David, what do you think?
So I completely agree with all of those comments, but there's obviously lots of, if you like, mysticism that helps people understand their unexplained observations. Science is one way that we use for trying to explain and gather evidence to help understand a range of, if you like, previously unexplained phenomena. Others in the past and some presently also use their own observations and then faith to help them explain that. I think those are different perspectives. None is better or worse than the others. But we need to be careful that if we want to understand natural phenomena, I think what we have to think about is how can we use the evidence that Emma talked about before to make policy decisions. I would much rather base those on well-founded, well-collected evidence than faith.
Fair enough. Kirsten, what do you think? It's an interesting question. Do you think there is some sort of creative being that exists beyond science?
I'm going to give you my favourite answer to give to any science question if I don't know. I don't know. I'm with you, Brian. We don't know. It's like Brian says, I'm going to say there's null evidence. Not some, null.
There's a very quick, serious point I'd like to make, which is that I remember once I was giving a talk to schools in London. And London is a very, very diverse population of many people, many faiths and none. Right? And I was asked that question, is it possible to be a scientist and believe in God? And I was taken back, actually. So I said, yes. And I was going to have some common caveat, like you said, the caveats there. But I got a round of applause. And I thought, this is important because the last thing someone like we should do is close off that possibility of being a scientist because someone has...
Well, I mean, Professor Hanbury Brown, who built the interferometer up in Parkes, I think, he believed in God. I grew up with him. I know that.
There are. So the worst thing to do would be for a room full of students to say, well, you can't be a scientist because you believe this thing or that thing or the other. Yeah. That would be a terrible thing to do.
Got time for sorry. Quick.
No, and I mean, if we say God, it's everybody would imagine something different, I suppose, and we have to realize that it's probably not sort of the little translation of the Bible that the Earth was created in 7 days and all the rest of that. Certainly, from the scientific perspective, that would be hard to adopt. But going back further in time and with some of the unknown questions that are still confronting us, so I think we have to be